A handful of months back, I found some rather intriguing job openings that pointed to a new historical Total War title. Combined with the then very recent trademark posting by Creative Assembly titled Total War Medieval, it wasn't hard to combine the two and speculate that what we might be seeing is a return to the medieval era and what that might entail. Now, it's been a while since I browsed the Creative Assembly careers page, so when a member of my community sent me a listing for a senior hard surface artist, I decided to check it out, immediately noticing the call to produce not just weapons, it's a given in Total War, but also vehicles, along with the desirable for photogrammetry processes. This combination means someone will need to be able to create hard textures with a focus on vehicles and weapons, while also being able to extract accurate measurements and data and structure from photos of whatever they're needing to replicate. With that bit of excitement, I also took some time to see what else I could find, and lo and behold, a few other listings to go along with it, all pointing to a decently big push towards the development of an actual full major historical title. Today I want to take a look at 4 job openings to discuss the possibility of a brand new historical game, one that will help set a standard for future Total War games, and speculate why I think that this specific historical title could be none other than the hotly anticipated but obviously never confirmed Empire 2. Let's dive in. I want to jumpstart this section by noting that all of these positions are decently high up the chain, calling out senior roles, directors, and managers. There's not a call for entry-level jobs or even much in the way of animation yet, but that doesn't mean these jobs aren't going to be there. This is just more of getting the upper-level squad together. We'll start broadly with the Associate Design Director. They collaborate with the game director to steer development and help realize, shape, and execute the game's vision. They also work with the project leads to ensure that both short and long-term development goals are met, while being the liaison between the design team and their various departments within the game itself. If the Associate Design Director keeps the vision in check across the teams, the development manager keeps the project moving forward while also keeping all teams informed and focused and juggling morale to keep it positive, something that I'm sure at times can be difficult for any number of reasons. It's the dev manager that tackles scheduling across the board, that concept art gets to 3D modelers and UI artists in a timely manner, which therefore allows the programmers to put assets in the game for testers and for marketing. Next is the big one that tipped me onto this video, the Senior Hard Surface Artist. It's the Senior Hard Surface Artist that will design assets that are hard textured, while soft texture artists model and design humanoid, animal, and soft nature assets. As mentioned in the intro, hard surface artists work with things like weapons, vehicles, and, more often than not in the realm of Total War, architecture. It's the call out for vehicles and photogrammetry that stick out of this position's description for a new historical Total War game. The only recent game to utilize vehicles is Total War Warhammer, so this is something unique for the historical side of any Total War game. Vehicles is a relatively loose term though, from simple horse-drawn wagons to motorized vehicles like cars, trucks, even tanks. It's really anything that can transport people or goods across land. Then there's photogrammetry, or taking photographs, things like LiDAR, other means of recording physical objects, and turning those into most commonly maps or 3D models. This process being desirable for the positioning indicates that the artist will need to take information from a more modern medium and use that to make real assets. This combination means that this senior position will be pretty crucial to the overall asset design if this is a more modern Total War game, but we'll get to that in just a minute. The last position I want to briefly touch on doesn't tie directly to this game singularly, but to the overall processes of the Total War engine. Mid to senior level graphics programmers. Yes, that's more than one. There's a push to bring in some programmers whose sole purpose is to research, collaborate, design, and implement GPU and CPU optimizations and modules that will help with creating a smoother experience in Total War within all aspects. It's long been a thorn in the community side that Total War games have issues running even on the best computers, and this is especially true of Total War historical titles, being as they are much older and were designed to run on a single core only. Fast forward 6 years since the last major historical title, Total War Attila, and multi-thread, multi-core processing is a staple in creating that stable, smooth experience in gaming. Now, the difficulty lies in the fact that unless we're going to see an entirely new engine, this historical title will either have to revamp the single-core historical engine into a multi-core, or rely on Warhammer's more optimized version of the engine to create their game, with the limitations of design structure and things of that nature. This is a big task for these programmers, but seeing that Creative Assembly recognizes that this is something that needs to be tackled now is a positive step forward. All of these positions lean to the core team being created for this new historical title. You've got the Vision team directors, they uphold the idea of the game. Your managers make sure that development flows along the scheduled cycles between all departments while keeping on Vision targets and thinking about us, the little guys. Your hard-surfaced artist is going to hopefully bring us new things we've never seen into the historical title, and your programmers are going to collab with the design teams to optimize the game to its best abilities, taking the assets throughout development to make sure nothing hogs our GPU CPU to the extreme and tanks performance. It's a solid lineup that they have already, so while the vision may already be set, it looks like we are seeing the processes being put into place for full production to start. Taking all these positions into consideration, I think what we have here is a case for Empire 2 and a new engine along with it. Looking at the hard-surfaced artist position, if you combine vehicle weapon design and photogrammetry, I think we've got a solid idea that this senior position will oversee the production of more modern assets for this Total War title. The first vehicle used en masse for warfare was in World War I, but the use of vehicles as transportation is more famously tied back to 1886 with German inventor Karl Benz and his horseless carriage, and production of vehicles had preceded that many years before in more primitive forms. You also have to think about trains as a form of vehicular transportation, going all the way back to the early 1800s and the peak of the Industrial Revolution. Empire Total War featured the entire 1700s in its scope. How unreasonable is it to continue that, say even from the 1820s to the 1920s? It would make sense to develop a game in that time period, considering that Paradox, what could be considered Total War's biggest rival, is developing Victoria 3 and will cover the exact same time period. Not to mention the technological upgrades alone from the early 1800s to 1900s would make a compelling campaign evolution, something fresh that a Total War game could really use to spice up the historical side. Going back to photogrammetry, this is also a case for a more modern take on Total War. While we certainly have many instances of surviving antiquity and medieval assets, locations, castles, cities, etc., or the landscape has changed due to natural erosion or events, that extracting data from photos and scans of these things doesn't make a ton of sense in the scope of the position. However, there are plenty of these types of photographic assets regarding the recent wars and technological progressions of the 18th and 19th centuries. You know, when photography was actually invented. This would give the artist a lot of developed vehicles, fortresses, architecture, geographical locations, what have you, to then extract measurements, details, textures, etc. to design accurate models. Then there's the graphic programmers and the call for a new engine. While it would save development time, maybe, to just adopt Warhammer structure, considering they have both vehicles and flying objects, I think the Warscape engine as it is right now has met the end of its lifetime. There comes a point where an entirely new engine is needed to be built from the ground up to allow for better optimizations, easier modding, and just more flexibility. There was a theory, possibly confirmed, although I can't remember, that Troy's payout for going to the Epic Games Store is what paid for Creative Assembly to produce a new engine. If this is the case, then we are indeed getting one finally. It'll need to be tested, and that's where these programmers come in. If you bring in something entirely different for historical titles than what's ever been seen into a new engine that's not been tested, you're going to get all sorts of bugs, weird things happening, and of course, optimization issues. This is not a bad reflection on anyone inside CA at all. It's just a natural process cycle across any game whatsoever. To have multiple graphics programmers on staff to optimize a new engine for a historical game, featuring never before seen mechanics, units, models, etc., just makes sense, and it's good to see that CA is already thinking ahead. In conclusion, I have to state that this is all 100% speculation. I could be completely off base, and the actual lineup of these people doesn't lead to anything Empire related at all. But what we can certainly garner out of it is that with 100% confirmation, a team is assembling to tackle a new major historical game, and that is exciting. 6 years is way too long, and I hope that they can make this one engaging enough to remove the honestly accurate stigma that historical games are incredibly boring compared to their fantasy counterparts. Bring us something awesome, Creative Assembly. It could be disastrous otherwise. Thank you very much for checking out the video. Let me know your thoughts about it all in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed it at all, be sure to give it a thumbs up, sub to the channel, and of course turn on bell notifications. There's some other juicy info hidden in the halls of CA's employment page, so stay tuned for another video in the near future. This is Havoc, and I'll see you all in the next one.